I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, and today I am going to try to replicate a colorway that I created in an older video. Specifically, this sock blank that you can see right here from Dyepot Weekly 438. Now, this is a sock blank that I dyed when I was testing some of the new Jacquard acid dye colors. And the three colors I was playing with were three of the non-fluorescent colors: Vivid Violet, Aqua Tropic, and Crocodile Green. And I know in a lot of videos I called it Aqua Tropic. I still shudder about that a little bit. But we're gonna play with these three colors again today. And the reason why I've pulled up the old video is because I didn't measure out the dyes that I was using. I did a lot of dyeing by feel. And so I want to start by checking through the video to take some notes on what I did so that way I can try to replicate it. But the last thing I want to add before we go and start playing with these colors is that Vivid Violet is not a fluorescent color. It does have that fluorescent pink in there, but it has more blue than, say, Dharma's Purple Pop. And so the fluorescence doesn't really come through. I think that I can pull this up in the video. Okay, here maybe I'm about to turn on a black light. There we go. And so, you know, there's maybe a little bit of fluorescence where some of the pinks broke. And it looks like the aqua, like it's just reflecting some of the light. I don't think there's any fluorescence in that aqua color. All right, but let's go back to the beginning and write down some notes. I got a notebook here, which of course isn't my diary, but we got a notebook. Okay. Now, all my videos have little chapters on them, which is quite handy. Okay, so we're gonna set up the blanks in a steam pan. And actually I can scroll down to check the video description. In all my videos, I try to link to the materials that I use. This is where I have affiliate links, to example, to knit picks and stuff. But then I also have video contents, which gives the little chapters that we have up here. But you can, sometimes there's more details. So I can see that the dye bath was 4 cups water plus 2 tablespoons of vinegar. And I had 200 grams in steam pan. All right, I just wrote this down, but I can tell that I could listen to the video if I want to, but from the notes that I had down in the video description, I can see that I added to our 200 grams of yarn, our 2 double-stranded sock blanks, 4 cups of water, and 2 tablespoons of white vinegar for the 200 grams of yarn. Now, here I am adding the water. Now, the sock blanks that I dyed are Knit Picks Strolled double-stranded sock blanks, which are 75% superwash merino wool, 25% nylon. And the cool thing about them is that they are knit double-stranded with 2 strands of yarn sort of stuck together. And okay, wait, we're watching this to see how much dye I added, but I left my Deluxe Rubber Respirator Mask image clearly in the middle of the camera. But let's see. It looks like I'm taking just the tip. Can I slow this down? Playback speed 25. Sometimes I speed through these things, but if I slow it down, then maybe we can say, because we knew I used, tip of a popsicle stick. You can kind of see that come in like a healthy scoop. So this isn't weighed, but you can see how it's 1 popsicle stick, about 1 centimeter of dye. Now, again, this is not accurate, but by watching back through the footage, I can then see what I did, and we can then try to go and replicate it. Yep, just 1 scoop. 1 scoop for each of those. How much water is the next question. Okay, so I'm going to dissolve them in water, and I think that I'm going to fill the cups up. I used hot tap water. Okay. I'm just writing that all down, but you can see that the cups are mostly full, which again is not a measurement, but these are like the standard size cups that you might find from different events. And so I don't know the volume, but I know I can replicate approximately this amount. Let's watch things on double speed now. Am I adding it? Nope, the pan is hot. You can see some steam I could listen to things, and normally I might, but I'm not going to. Okay, so slowly spread. So we've got the purple. Well, the question is, do I touch or not touch? Yes. Then immediately touch. All right. And I think, you know, we've got the aqua in the middle. And then we'll go ahead and do the same thing with the green. And I don't think that I ever add any more dye. So you can kind of zoom over and check things. And it looks like the washing was pretty simple. And then I did unravel one of the blanks last time. Okay, I show off my skein winder a little bit. And so this is overall going to be a colorway, and I'm curious how close we're going to get. I am curious how close we're going to get to that. But this is a colorway that is gradient-esque because there's some blending, but there's going to be some variation. There's going to be some variation between the colors and transitions between the colors. But ultimately, I think it should be a lot of fun. I hope it'll be a lot of fun. And, well, I guess we've got to get to it and go and start pre-soaking our sock blanks. As I mentioned, I have links in the video description, so if you want to learn more about any of the tools or equipment, you can find those links down there. And while I'm talking straight to camera, please subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a new video. As I'm coming to pre-soak my sock blank, I realized I only have one Stroll sock blank left, so I'm about to go order more. The Knit Picks blanks are a little bit more expensive than similar blanks from Wool to Dye For, but I find that they hold the stitching at the edges better without needing to add a safety line. So that's why I like them. Now I will be adding, so we have 200 grams of yarn in our pan, a Knit Picks Hawthorne double-stranded sock blank. The construction is very similar, it's just the yarn base that's different. And rather than a 75-25 superwash merino nylon, the Hawthorne yarn is 80% superwash fine Highland wool, 20% polyamide, which is a nylon. And it's 2-ply versus 4-ply, so the construction is a tiny bit different, but typically the two bases dye very similarly, and I've compared the two together a lot. Now I'm going to pre-soak the yarn in just plain tap water for about 30 minutes, like I did last time. Let's set up the dye bath. First, I'm going to bring over the sock blanks and sort of straighten them out. I will readjust the positioning and scrunching once I add the water on, but I want to get things at least arranged. And they're arranged the way that they are, sort of lengthwise, so that way we can get, it's not going to be a clear gradient, but we can get more of those color transitions that I showed you already. Now here I have 4 cups of water, and I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of white vinegar, stir it crudely, and we'll pour this mixture onto the yarn. So this is pretty low volume that we have right here, mainly because we're going to want the colors to spread but not spread too much. And so now I am scrunching, unrolling, sort of somewhat randomly placing things, so that way when I eventually add the colors on, we have some resist from how things are scrunched, and it should be really beautiful. So I'm going to put this on the stove and start heating things up. Here are the dye colors we're going to use today. We have Vivid Violet, Aqua Tropic, and Crocodile Green. Now to prep our dyes, I have 3 plastic cups, I have 3 popsicle sticks, and I did bring over the scale just because I'm curious about how much dye the scoop we're adding will be. But now I'm going to go put on my deluxe rubber respirator mask, safety glasses, and gloves, and let's measure and dissolve our dyes. Okay, I want to do things by feel, just like I did back in the day. And so I could take, I mean, that's a massive scoop right there. That's way too much. But I'm going to take like a scoop at the end and pop that in. And it looks like around 0.2 grams. But it also looks like I did spill a little bit. The green is so nice. It's a very classic green color without being too bright. Next up is our vivid violet. And I'm going to try to be similar-ish with the amount that I took. And let's see. That also happens to be about 0.2 grams. Finally, we have our Aqua. And this is maybe a little bit much. I'm curious. 0.25 grams. Hey, it's kind of interesting that there is some consistency in here. And again, I don't know how much dye I used last time, but what I do know is that the final colors weren't insanely saturated, and so that's why I feel a little bit confident here. All right, I'm heating our water up, and I'm gonna start bringing over the dye. So we have, I would say, between 0.6 and 0.7 grams of dye total. And we're going to be dyeing 200 grams of yarn. And I'd say that this is a pretty good ratio. From my experience with a lot of different dyes, I feel like that this should give us the colors similar to the other link. Because if my scoops had measured out over a gram of dye, I would worry that our colors were going to be a little bit too pigmented. The one downside of using popsicle sticks as measuring and stirring vessels is they do soak up some dye. So if I was going to be doing color mixing and I was really concerned about potentially having some color transfer from, I don't know, what might be soaked in on the stick already, then I would probably use fresh sticks or try to use something plastic or metal. But now I'm going to finish filling these up and we'll wait for our dye bath to be ready to go. But you can see right now, I mean, if I soak this in soap, more color will come out, but from rinsing them off, there's not a lot of color, even though the wood is stained. I actually waited to turn the heat on until we had finished with the dyes, because it doesn't take long to heat up 4 cups of water, and things are definitely warm and hot, and I don't want anything to burn. So we're going to hop to adding our dyes. Okay, and I'm going to start with the Crocodile green, trying to layer it a bit over about 1/3 of our yarn. It is spreading down a little bit, and I haven't added all of the dye. I figure I will add the rest in a little bit, but I am trying to come in with my spoon to be a little bit similar to before. Okay, let's bring in our vivid violet. And again, I have a little bit of dye reserved, which I'm choosing to do right now because I'm seeing the colors spread. And I want to have some space to maintain our aqua, but I am sort of working this through. And I can add more acid. Like, I'm not constrained to try to do exactly what I did before, but I'm attempting to repeat the colorway. All right, let's come in with our aqua. It's possible we have more dye than we have last time, but also colors will look brighter at first and darker when wet than they will when things are dry. Now, I'm not planning on moving things substantially, but I think I want to give this a little bit of time for the colors to strike, and then we'll decide what we want to do with that last bit of color. Actually, the green is pretty much gone. This purple, the pink in there will take a bit longer, and the aqua will need some time as well. So let's wait. And I changed my mind. See, at this point, now that I have the colorway similar in the pan, we're gonna mix things up a little bit. Okay, I added a tablespoon of white vinegar to the residual dyes that I had left. This way, as I add them on, I am also increasing the amount of acid. And so That's gonna make me happier. Which I know I didn't do before, but sometimes it's okay to mix things up a little bit. Okay, that is our last of the Vivid Violet, and I'm gonna be glad to have more acid down here because we know that there is a fluorescent pink in there. And so things are looking fairly saturated right now, and I could have added less dye if I wanted to. I could have stopped things and said, okay, I don't think I want this much dye in here. We should finish. But this does feel like it's looking fairly similar to me, and so that was my goal, and I am happy. And now I think is the point where we need to wait. Now, I think I'm going to want to increase the water volume, potentially. I want things to heat, but I don't want it to dry out. I could cover it, but I don't think I'm going to do that. So I'm going to set a timer for 10 minutes, and then we'll come back and check and see how we're doing with the dye absorption. Things are nice and steamy, so I'm going to go from medium heat to medium low. And let's see. All right, most of the blue is good. Hey, actually, this is looking good. A lot of those pinks have absorbed, and pretty much all of the green. I think of the colors, you can tell which one breaks the most. But this is good, and the water level is still fine. You want, when you're worried about low immersion, you want when you move your yarn to the side to still see plenty of liquid down there. So I'm going to set a timer for 20 minutes so that way we can finish heat setting our yarn. And in that time, I will come back and check on things periodically. Okay, the 30 minutes are done. I did come by once and add just a little bit more water because the levels were looking a little bit low to me. I have never burned yarn, and I don't want today to be the time to start. So what I'm going to do now is remove our sock blanks. I just turned off the heat. And it's harder to get all the liquid out of sock blanks. And when I move this into the aluminum pan I like to use for cooling, I am separating the colors again. But for attempting to remove it and to let some of the liquid drain off, this works. The reason why I try to remove the liquid from the yarn at the cooling stage is that if you remove more of the liquid, things will cool off faster. And so it's just a convenience thing. And here we go. The colors may not be identical. I don't have the old blank in person to compare it to, but I think we're pretty good. So I'm gonna set this aside to cool, and then we can wash it. And cooling, sometimes people ask how long cooling takes. It can take sometimes a couple of hours. Normally, I will, if I'm dyeing multiple projects in a day, I'll then save all the washing for the end of the day. But I'll come back in a couple of hours and we should be good to go. Let's wash our yarn. And I really need to remember for next time that Crocodile green strikes really fast, which is unique for a green. A lot of greens take a long time. Okay. This is really pretty. I have no idea how close it is to the original. I maybe can get a feel when I look at photos once it's dry. Either way, it is beautiful. And so far there is no bleeding, which is also wonderful. I mean, at these ratios, as I add some dish soap with, what, not even a whole gram of dye, not even 3/4 of a gram of dye, on 200 grams of yarn. Even if these colors were neon fluorescent dyes that are big bleeders, I wouldn't expect a lot of color bleeding here. So, trying to be optimistic. And it's looking great. It's looking so good. So I'm gonna finish rinsing out the soap. Then I'm gonna put these sock blanks through my spin dryer and hang them up to dry. Here is what the original blanks that inspired today's video looked like. And here are what our two blanks look like that I dyed. It's really hard for me to go back and forth between the image that's on my computer and what I have in front of me right now until I bring this footage in to edit it. But I think that we got pretty darn close. Maybe things now are a hair more pigmented, but overall, I'm really, really happy. Now, I think that our stroll blank right here is closer to what I originally created. I think in the Hawthorn blank, which is a little bit shorter because Hawthorn has less yardage, I think that the colors sort of traveled a little further and blended a little more in the center, but it's also beautiful and that's okay. Now, I have a lot of high hopes for Crocodile Green. It strikes really quickly and it does seem to break with a bit of a yellow, because in this area I see some like soft butter yellow in here and it really mirrors the vivid violet down there so nicely. So we're gonna have to try glazing with this at some point. And by glazing, I mean a dye application where you're trying for the dyes to strike to the yarn so fast that you get almost a surface level airbrushed feel to it versus colors that penetrate into the fibers a little bit more. And the reason why I think that this could work is that in some of the areas where the color is the darkest, it feels pretty uneven in those areas. It strikes fast enough, it's not going all the way through. Which some of this resists, like when you pull the stitches about, that is because it's a knit fabric. But I see a potential here and I'm excited to play more. I am Rebecca from ChemKnits and I really hope that you have enjoyed this video. I do wish, looking back in the editing mode, that at the beginning of the video I had used not the webcam microphone to record the audio there, and that I didn't record the screen capture and my face camera all in one. A lot of other times with reaction videos I do that separately so I can resize my face and move it around. But for a quick and dirty plan that I came up with last minute, I thought that this video was really fun. So if there are other videos of mine that you think I should revisit and try to recreate, whether or not I measured things out, let me know, because this was a lot of fun. Please subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a new video. I post at least twice a week and we have so much fun over here on the ChemKnits Tutorials YouTube channel. And if you love the yarn I dye, go and check out my Etsy shop, ChemKnits Creations, which is filled with hand-dyed yarn featured in my videos. The shop is filled with yarn and I always write the approximate title and date that the video came out on the tag, so that way you can go find the video and rewatch it as you're working with the yarn, which I think is just so much fun. Thank you so much for watching.